Great. So we're now recording. So welcome to the library science portion of the online information session. And we will go ahead and get started. So this is a 36 credit hour program. It's pretty standard. That's 12 classes for us. It is completely online. We don't have any face-to-face classes, and all of our classes are asynchronous. So some online programs have classes that you attend synchronously for a couple hours every night a week. We find that that doesn't really work for our students, so we use an asynchronous model. So our classes follow the regular semester schedule. They start when fall semester ends, start when fall semester starts, end when it ends. But most classes are broken into weekly or bi-weekly modules. So your instructor will say, okay, our week starts on Monday, it ends on Sunday. By midweek, I want you to have this done. By the end of the week, I want you to have that done. And then it's up to you throughout your week to find the time to work on your coursework. If there's any lecture content, it will be pre-recorded and available in our learning management system. We use Canvas. You might be familiar with Moodle or Blackboard. We find Canvas is very intuitive and helpful. And if you are out of state, our out-of-state students qualify for a special tuition rate that's actually a little bit lower than resident rate. So you're paying functionally an in-state tuition price for an online program. Are either of you in Kentucky or out of state?
I'm in Kentucky.
Okay.
And I'm out of state in the Bay Area, California.
Yeah, so this is perfect. So Christina, if you ever moved, the online tuition rate would follow you, and Amy, you start with the online tuition rate. So you both pay the same thing, even though you're in state, Christina. But if you had to move for any reason, you don't need to worry about your degree suddenly costing a lot more. It won't. That online rate stays consistent. So we have about 300 students in the program right now. So we're sort of right in the middle in terms of how big the programs can get. We are one of the older programs in the country. We started teaching LIS classes here in 1918. And we've been doing distance education for more than 30 years. So we've got 10 full-time faculty, and then we have a complement of part-time instructors who are out working in the field who teach our classes as well. We are well ranked in the US News and World Report, 17th for the overall program, 3rd in health information, 11th for school library media, and 12th for services for children and youth. So let's talk a little bit about academics. I mentioned some of the concentrations that we already have: youth services and literature, health information. The concentrations are not formal degree designations. They don't appear on your transcript or on your diploma anywhere. What they are more internal guidelines, right? So if you come into the program and say, I'm really interested in youth services and literature, we'll say, okay, great. For a concentration in that area, here are the classes that we would recommend that you consider taking. You're not required to take all the classes that we recommend, and you are welcome to mix and match across concentrations if you have interest in multiple areas. So if you're really interested in, say, health information and information technology and systems, of course, we want you to build a degree plan where you combine those two interests together. So just remember, the concentrations are guidelines. It's just us telling you, hey, based off of your interests, here's what we think in our curriculum would be a good class for you to take. The one concentration that is a little bit different is our school libraries concentration. And this is for our already certified teachers. They're coming to earn not only the master's degree in library science, but also certification to be school media specialists in K-12 public schools. So they do have to be certified teachers, and then their course plan is a little more restricted because they have to meet certification requirements as well. So do you guys have a sense of what concentrations you might be interested in?
I probably would. I'm looking at a couple, so that answered one of my questions. Can we combine some of these? But yeah. What is the difference between the youth services and literature and the public libraries? Does that happen in both places?
So it's very complementary. So think of public libraries as a more overarching concentration, and then youth services and literature as a sort of a subcategory of that. So for our students that know they want to work with children and young adults, and they want to work in public libraries, we usually suggest start with the youth services and literature classes because a lot of the public library classes are also recommended for those students. But we have some students who want to work in public libraries, but don't necessarily want to work with a younger crowd. So that's why they're separated out.
I'm interested in like academic library, generalist, but also public libraries. I'm
Yeah.
really not sure yet.
And that's perfectly fine,
I'm-
Christina.
I'm kind of interested in like doing like archival work. So I don't know where all of that, lies.
Yeah, so archival work is not a focus of our program. We do have some classes that are relevant to that. We have an archival class, we have a digital libraries class. That's great. If you know specifically that you really want to go work in an archive, I would suggest looking at a program that has a very well-developed archival track within it, just because you'll be more prepared. They are related fields, but they are different in many ways, archives versus libraries. But if you really have interest in a lot of different areas, generalist is a great track to choose because that really lets you customize everything, right? So all the tracks can be mixed and matched, but generalist is for our students that really do have interest in a lot of different areas and just want to explore the field while they're in the program. So there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of our students come in with the generalist track and stay with it. The other thing to remember is that you're welcome to change your concentration at any point. So if you come in thinking, I'm going to be an academic library student, and then you take a class and your whole view shifts, and you're like, no, it's youth services and literature for me. That's okay. It's absolutely okay. You can switch your focus. We can also switch advisors if you are assigned to one advisor and then find that you really click with another faculty member. It is possible to change advisors when you're in the program. So that's just something to keep in mind as well.
Okay.
So in terms of courses and planning, I mentioned it's 36 hours, 12 classes. This is how that breaks down. So all of our students take the same 4 core classes, 600 through 603. The course numbers are sequential. The classes are not. You can take them in any order. 600 is an introduction to the profession, who we are, what we do, why we do it, why it matters. 601 is information seeking. How do we find information effectively and efficiently? How do we parse when people tell us that they need something so that we can connect them with the information they actually need? 602 is a flip side to that, knowledge organization. How do we create information systems that are easily searchable? How do we organize information itself so that we can then find what we need? And then 603 is a foundational management class. Everybody in this field manages something, whether that's an entire library system or the craft supplies for summer reading programs. You're going to manage something. So we want to make sure all of our students have a good foundation in that before they join the field. Outside of the 4 core classes, you will also take at least one technology class. We have a lot of them on offer. 636 is a good class if you don't feel real comfortable with your technology skills and want a really sort of foundational, let's start with the basics kind of a class. If you're more advanced than that, you're welcome to skip 636 and start with one of our higher level technology electives, something like 668, which is more about advanced database building. And while you're only required to take one technology class, we always encourage you to take as many as you're interested in. Our field is very responsive to technology. So the greater ease you have with learning new technologies and adapting, the better off you'll be in this field, because technology is going to change what we do and how we do it. We also have some 690 classes. Those are our special topics classes. Not all of them are technology focused, but some of them are. And when Heather builds the schedule, she always notes which ones count as a technology elective, so you don't have to wonder about that when you're looking at the catalog. Outside of the core and the technology class, you'll have 7 electives. You can pick anything in our catalog. This is where you really get a chance to customize your degree plan, take those classes that you're really interested in. And among those options are our 672, which is a practicum class. So you can get class credit for doing an internship. And if it's paid, even better. We really like for our students to get paid for their intern work. And there's also the option of the 695, which is our independent study. So if there's something that you're really interested in learning and we don't necessarily have a class on it, you can design your own class. And then under the supervision of one of the full-time faculty, you direct your own learning for a class for a semester. Usually the culminating project for that is some kind of research project, but it's very flexible. You could do something like a very well-developed LibGuide, depending on what your topic is. So there's definitely room for customization in both of those classes. Any questions so far? Because this is a lot of information. We're good?
Good.
Okay. So some of the sample electives, we have youth literature for a diverse society if you're interested in working with youth, but we also have things like the archives and manuscripts class, Christina, and then some of our 690 classes. Some of these actually have regular course numbers now, but electronic resource management, information behavior of children and youth. There's a lot of different things on offer. This list is not exhaustive. There are more electives than this, but it gives you a sense of some of the options that you might have within the program. And while we don't have anybody doing school libraries on the call with us today, we might have some people watching the recording who are interested in this. So I am going to go through this slide. So our school library students take the same 4 core courses that everybody else takes, but then they also have 4 specialization courses specific to school libraries: administration, current trends, organization of knowledge, or another approved class, and then their school media practicum. So while the school library students do have to complete a practicum, if you are not a school library student, the practicum is an option for you, not a requirement. So that's one of the differences between our school library students and our non-school library students. Our school library students also take at least 2 literature classes. They can pick from 610, 612, or 614, and then they take 2 technology classes, one specific to school media, and then another technology class of their choice. So let's talk about some more fun things. We have something really unique to this program called Alternative Spring Break. We have been doing this since 2011. And I just sent the applications off to the host institutions yesterday for this year's program, the 2022 program. So what happens in Alternative Spring Break is during the university spring break, which is usually the 2nd or 3rd week of March, we, in non-COVID years, send our students to the host institutions, which have been Smithsonian, National Library of Medicine, the National Network of the Library of Medicine. We've also partnered with Library of Congress and the National Archives in the past, and they work at those institutions for that week on a project. And the projects will really range. So we've had students working with philanthropy and advancement. We've had students working on social media, students working on education, students working on more back-end projects, things like cataloging, data analysis. We've also had students working on more archival focused projects. So every year the projects are different. Every year our host institutions can change. As you can imagine, the last couple of years, we've had to do this virtually because of travel restrictions, but the program is still ongoing and we have found a way to make it work. And we are very hopeful that come 2023, we will be back in person again and sending our students to these institutions rather than doing virtual projects. But regardless of the format of the project, it's just a really great way to get practical experience, a wonderful line to have on your resume or CV. And the school does provide usually $1,000 of scholarship money to each student selected to help offset the cost either of needing to take a break from work to complete the program if you're working full or part-time, or in the years that we travel to help offset the cost of travel and housing. Do either of you have questions about Alternative Spring Break?
I do.
Yeah.
So how many opportunities for that, like, do just a very few students get to participate, or is there room for many?
It's usually about 10 to 12 students every year. So this year we had 15 applicants, so most of them will get to participate. Some years we have 45 applicants, so you have maybe a 1 in 3 chance or 1 in 4 chance of participating. It really depends on the year.
And how are those students selected?
The host institutions select the students. So I compile all the applications together and I send all the applications, every student who applied for each program, to the host institutions, and then they choose the students that they want for their interns.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
So are the host institutions like always domestic partners?
Usually, yes, simply because international travel in the spring break week would be very, very difficult to manage. Just a little bit challenging. So yes, usually it is domestic partners. If you have any suggestions, Christina, for international partners, let me know, because I'm always looking to expand the program.
Cool.
I wanted to just chime in and mention with Ashley that when we talk about taking applications for alternative spring break, this is unique to UK's program. There's not another ICE school that does this, or library science school. So when those applications are called, that is just for students in the program. So you're only competing internally for a spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Heather and I actually participated in this in the same year because we were both graduates of this program as well. So we were able to intern for Library of Congress. So it's such a valuable experience and a really nice way to put all the knowledge that you gain in your coursework into practice. So let's talk a little more about tuition and financial aid. I mentioned this a little bit before. So the third line, online only, is what students in our program pay. So this is for 2021, 2022. As you know, tuition prices usually change every academic year. So this is correct through summer 2022. What fall 2022 will look like, I don't quite know yet. But for our online students, full-time, for a graduate student, that's 9 hours a semester or more, is $6,291 for the semester. And if you're going to go part-time, which would be 8 hours or fewer, that's $700.50 per credit hour, about $2,100 class. So you can kind of put that in the back of your head. The whole program is about $25,000 to complete, whether you're going full-time or part-time. The university does offer a little bit of a tuition benefit if you take an overload, so more than 9 hours, in the fall and spring semesters. So if you take, say, 4 classes, 12 hours, the tuition charge is the same for 12 hours as it is for 9 hours. Like you're not charged more for that 4th class. That's only true for the fall and the spring semesters. Summer tuition is charged per credit hour, regardless of how many you take. But if you are able to take an overloaded course, it is possible to have some pretty significant tuition savings. That said, it is graduate school. It is challenging. And so a lot of our students choose to go part-time because they're working full or part-time or have other responsibilities. And that's completely fine. Your pacing is completely up to you. You can be full-time one semester because you have more time, and then you can be part-time the next semester because you just need to take fewer classes for whatever reason. You're not locked into, I have to take 3 classes every semester. You can take 3 and then 2 and then 4, whatever works for you. The only caveat to that is if you know that you want to take 4 more classes a semester, please apply several months in advance of the deadline so that we have enough time to get you into those extra seats. Because you'll need more seats than a regular full-time student, we need a little more time to make sure that we can accommodate that. So for instance, registration for fall and summer starts in late March. If you apply at the very end of the application period, July 1st, we may not have 4 seats available for you. So if you know that you want to go on the expedited path, is what we call that, for the fall semester, try to apply no later than February 1st so that we have plenty of time to get your application processed and we can get you registered for classes as soon as the registration window for fall opens. The earlier you do it, the easier it is for us to make sure that you can get into all the classes that you want to. So speaking of deadlines, we just passed the deadline for spring of 2022. That was November 15th. So if you're looking ahead to summer 2022, that deadline is March 15th, and then fall 2022 is July the 1st. Those dates stay the same every year. So if you're looking like, maybe I don't want to start till 2023, it will still be July 1st, November 15th, March 15th. We keep them consistent every year just so it's a lot easier for prospective students. But like I mentioned, sometimes you do need to apply a little before the deadline. This is especially true for scholarships and funding. So the university does have some fellowships, and as a student in the library science program, you may be eligible for some of them. So we always encourage you to go to the graduate school's website, check the due dates and eligibility requirements for any fellowships that you might be interested in. And if you feel like you're a good candidate, please go ahead and apply. It is usually the most competitive source of funding at UK, simply because you're competing with all the other 8,000 to 9,000 graduate students. And usually they award maybe a dozen fellowships in a year. So it is quite competitive, but our students have been awarded fellowships in the past, so it does happen. We also often have a limited number of assistantships, usually 4 to 6 a year. These do require that you are able to work in an on-campus library. We don't have any virtual options at the moment. And you work August to August. And by doing that, your tuition for the spring and summer is fully covered. You also receive health insurance and a small stipend. What's open to all of our students, regardless of where you are or if you're full-time or part-time, are the school-sponsored scholarships. So that application is due November 15th, June 15th, which means that your program application needs to be in before that date as well. They're usually modest, anywhere between $500 to $1,500. We do weight financial need heavily in awarding those, but every student in the program is welcome to apply. Where you have options for larger scholarships are external to the university. The American Library Association, as you would imagine, is a huge supporter of students in this field. Their scholarship application should be open now. It usually opens in September, and it will close on March the 1st. And often they have scholarships that are several $1,000s. Some of them are multi-year, and some of them are very general. Some of them are very specific. So it's worth taking a weekend, looking through everything on offer, and applying to all the ones that you qualify for. Beta Phi Mu, which is our honor society, has also offered scholarships in the past. And in the last couple of years, they've only done that for doctoral students, but it's worth looking each year just to see if they've brought back the one for the master's students. And then don't discount your state library association. So Amy, you said you're in California, right? So look at the California Library Association rules for their scholarship, because most of the time, the way that it's written is that you're in the ALA accredited program within the state, whichever one that happens to be your ones, or that you're a resident of that state enrolled in an ALA accredited program somewhere else, because Kentucky is written that way. So both of you, even you, Amy, are eligible to apply for the Kentucky one if you're part of our program here at UK. So most of the state library ones are written that way. And then don't forget, there's also a lot of regional library associations. So Christina, for you, Kentucky is part of SELA, the Southeastern Library Association, and they do a scholarship. So it takes a little digging, takes a little time, but it is very much worth looking around all of your options and applying for anything that you see. And thank you, Heather, for providing the link in the chat. Because anecdotally, we hear every year that scholarship money goes unawarded because no one applies. Because everybody thinks, oh, there's going to be way better candidates than me, and I don't want to apply. I'm going to get rejected. But the problem is everybody thinks that, so then nobody applies, and then nobody gets the scholarship money. So we encourage you to apply, because even if it's $500 here and $1,000 there, that's money towards your degree program that you don't have to come up with, which is always nice, because this is a significant financial commitment that anyone's making to do a master's program. So any questions before we move into how to apply? You guys have been great. So in terms of admissions requirements, what we're looking for is a GPA of a 3.0 or higher for your undergraduate degree, and then also for any graduate work that you've done. We'd also like to see 3 letters of recommendation, and that can be any combination of professional or academic. So if you have been out of school for a while, please don't worry, we understand. 3 professional references are perfectly fine. So bosses, supervisors, even coworkers, if you don't have academic references. We'd also like a personal statement where you tell us 2 things. 1, why do you want to go into this field? What is it about library science that excites you? What are you hoping to do with your career? And then the second part of that question, why is our program a good fit for your goals? So out of all the ALA programs, why us? Why Kentucky? How do we help you achieve your goals? And then the last piece is a CV or resume. So that's the bulk of the application, are those things. Any questions about the requirements?
So what kinds of things are you looking for in the letter of recommendation?
So most of the time, you'll enter that information into Apply Yourself, which is our application portal, and it will send your recommendation providers a standard thing that they fill out. So it's going to ask them to rate you on things like oral and written communication, research ability. I think one of the other ones is like dependability. So those usual kind of a thing. It'll ask how they know you, how long they've known you. And then the last question is what they think your strengths and weaknesses are coming into this graduate program, or they can upload a more traditional recommendation letter instead. They have the option to either answer the question or upload a letter. We don't have a preference between the two. We're happy with whatever the applicant wants to send or the recommendation provider. But what we would like to know is, why do they think you're going to be a good student in our program? What is it about you that makes you ready for this kind of graduate program commitment, ready to enter this field? Does that help, Amy?
That does help, and it's great. They get a little guidance, some of them, you know. Okay, wonderful, great.
Christina, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm curious, to like apply for an assistantship, do you need to have like a GRE score or no? Okay.
No, so we don't require the GRE at all for the program, either for an assistantship or for admission to the program. We got rid of that requirement in 2018.
Okay, and then to like apply for the assistantship, do you need to already be admitted to the program?
No, so you can do the assistantship application before you're admitted. So the assistantship application is due March the 1st. But by March the 1st, you do have to have your program application in as well, because in order for me to send your assistantship application onto UK libraries, because that's where all of our students work, you have to be admitted to the program already. We can't consider a student who's not admitted for an assistantship. Now, being admitted doesn't mean that you are obligated to accept the admission, right? You can be admitted and then decide, you know what, I'm going to pause. That's okay. But you do need to have them both in. So if you're going to apply for an assistantship, Christina, I would suggest have your program application in no later than February 1st. And then make sure that you get that assistantship application in by March the 1st.
Okay, great.
So program first and then do assistantship.
Okay.
And then what is your acceptance rate?
So at this point, we're at about, I think, an 87% acceptance rate from my last look at those numbers. But it does fluctuate every semester. Fall is the most competitive time to apply, simply because that's when the majority of the applications come in. Spring is slightly less competitive because we have slightly fewer applications. And then I would say summer is probably the least competitive time to start, simply because a lot of students don't choose to start in the summer. But we are trying to choose the most qualified, the best candidates. And sometimes students really just aren't a good fit for our program because of their interests. Like I mentioned archival studies earlier. While we'd be happy to have a student, we also want you to be in the best program for your needs. And so if archival is your goal, that's really not us. And so we try to help those students make a better decision if that's where they want to go.
And then one more question, sorry, and
You're
not
fine.
where I plan to be for the meeting, so I have a little background noise. But so can you take any classes prior to being admitted to the program, like take a class or two and see how it goes, or if you enjoy it, or do you need to be admitted to take classes?
So yes and no. We have something called post-baccalaureate status, which does allow you to take graduate level classes prior to be admitted to a program. And as long as you earn a grade of B or better, you can then bring 9 of those hours into a program with the program's permission. The problem with that is that the library science program is basically at capacity at this point. So we often don't have seats available for post-bac students, simply because we need to have those classes for our traditional master students to take. But if you're admitted to the master's program, you can start it. And then ultimately, if you decide, you know, I don't know that this is the best fit for me, you're not required to complete it. And we do have some students who start, and then for whatever reason, maybe they decide to go to a different field, or maybe something happens in their life. They need to either take a semester or 2 away from the program, or they need to stop and either not resume or resume several years down the line. And that's possible. So students can sit out for up to a year at a time and up to 2 years total in the program for whatever reason they have. And then the graduate school also does set a deadline of 6 years to complete all the program requirements. So if you needed to take a break for even say 2 years in a row, something happens, you just need to pause. All you would need to do is reapply to the program when you wanted to come back. And then we just pick up where you started with your credits coming with you. And then once we get to that 6-year deadline, it is possible to have an extension, but we do have to go through the graduate school to get approval for that. So there's options if you start and maybe it's not a good fit right at that moment. Excellent.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So the last slide I have is how do you actually get to the application portal? Because there's about 14 different ways that you can get to it. This is the one that involves the fewest number of clicks. So starting from our graduate school's website, which is very conveniently gradschool.uky.edu, very easy to remember. It should land you on a page that looks very similar to this. The second column, prospective students, the first option under that, apply, will take you straight to the application portal. So it's the most direct way to get there. Once you're at the application portal, it will ask you to create an account. So that's just an email address, whatever email address you want to receive correspondence about your application, use that one. And then you'll set up a password, and then you can fill your application in over a period of days or even weeks. Because you have the account, you can save your progress. You can do it a little bit at a time. Some students do the whole thing in one day. Some students do the application across a month. Perfectly fine. But you can go ahead and enter those recommendation providers' names and email addresses. And as soon as you do that, the application portal will send them that recommendation form. So they can start to work on those recommendation letters even while you're still working on your application. They don't have to wait for you to submit to start working on their part. And likewise, if you're ready to submit, but all of your recommendations aren't in, that's okay, because even after you submit, they can still get to their part. So you don't have to wait on each other. You can start and finish when you want to, and they can start and finish as soon as you put their contact information in. So that's one nice thing about the portal, is that it does separate those things so you don't have to worry about it too much. And that's the end of our slides. But if you have any other questions, Heather and I are here and happy to answer them. Like we mentioned, we're both graduates of this program, so we do know exactly where you are. We've been there, right on the cusp of making this decision. And we're just happy to help however we can.
So I do have more questions.
Yeah.
Are there clear instructions for getting official transcripts? Like when we go through the application process, you probably want the transcript sent directly from a prior university. And is that pretty clear when we get to that point?
Yes and no. So the application itself is a little fuzzy on this point. My suggestion is if you have access to either a physical transcript that you can scan already or an unofficial student transcript, use those in the application. Anything that you attach in the application, whether it says official or not, is not considered official. So if you do need to order a transcript because you don't have access to it, go ahead and order it and send it straight to me. So what I can do is I can send you a scan, or I can send you the file and you can put that on the application, but then I can forward that official file to the graduate school, and then you won't have to order it again if you're admitted. My goal is to have people order transcripts the fewest amount of times possible. So if you have them already, use what you have. If you need to order them, send them to me. You can send them to me via email. If it's electronic delivery, that's fine. If you'll have to mail it to me, and some institutions still do that, it's also okay. Just give me a heads up that it's coming in the mail so I know to look for it.
Sorry for so many questions.
No, we love questions. Questions are great.
Good. Do you have any job placement statistics for your program?
We don't have any job placement statistics because we're not quite big enough to have that. What we do have is a career center here on campus, and there is a specific graduate program liaison that we have now that you can work with to help you make those connections. It is a little hard since we're an online program and our students are quite literally all over the states, and a couple of them are international. So we just don't have our finger in all of those networks, but we do have resources available to help you.
I wanted to chime in after Ashley
Yeah.
had mentioned that about, and then within the program itself, if you are someone who is interested in doing a practicum, whether that's with an internship that's paid or unpaid, we don't have a specific placement officer for our general students, so the 672 practicum. However, I am here, and I usually work with a student, their faculty advisor, and then any kind of prospective supervisor. I also share all of those opportunities that I know of. Those are on our website, and they go to our student email list as well. So I always share those, and those come in across the country. So I have had students, do practicums who, they're not in Kentucky, but we use our learning contract, and then I can meet with the student, and I meet with their advisor on Zoom, and we're able to coordinate everything. And then I'm also kind of a point person to answer questions, because many times, the institution you may be interested in doing a practicum at, they are very interested in having you do a practicum, but they may not know about, okay, well, how does this apply to credit hours, and what do we need to do? And that's where I come in, and the program comes in to support those supervisors, so they can support our students. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. Never feel like you're in this program, we say, don't feel like you're an island. Online programs, we've been doing this a really long time, and even before everyone moved online from COVID, and we have a really wide network of alums, so not just in Kentucky. If there's ever anything you're interested in knowing more about, we can potentially reach out to our alums as well. Just say the word.
And I'll also mention, we do post job ads frequently on our student listserv, usually multiple of them every day. So we often tell students, make a folder specifically for those emails, because that listserv can feel a little overwhelming sometimes, but it is chock full of internship opportunities, job opportunities, scholarships, conferences, and then program information as well. So it's a one-stop shop for all of your needs. So other questions?
Do you feel like the program is growing?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Is there an application fee?
Yes, there is. For domestic applicants, it's $65.
Mhm.
And I think you might be able to get an application waiver if you express interest through UK Online, but I can't guarantee that. I don't know that that's still the case, but it wouldn't hurt to try it. So UK Online is our sort of central office for all the online programs here at UK. So ours, and then all the other ones at the graduate and undergraduate level. And I know sometimes in the past they have done application waiver codes. So it can't hurt.
Okay, and so you all don't offer any classes in person, right? Okay.
They're all asynchronous online classes. We are, however, here physically on campus, Christina. So if at any
Right.
point you wanted to meet with someone in person, we are here. We do actually
Right.
have offices. We do have a physical presence on campus. So you can meet with your faculty, the full-time faculty are here. And you're welcome to come to campus. Amy, if you felt like making a cross-country trip, you're welcome to come to campus. But yes, all the classes are online.
That's wonderful. I actually was raised in Kentucky, and I'm actually in Kentucky right now. I had a family emergency that I was not expecting to be here for, so I should come on over.
So you're a lot closer to us than you normally would be.
Definitely, yeah.
I wanted to mention also, it's actually brought up, none of the classes will ever be in person. There's not going to be in any of our classes a synchronous requirement, nor are you ever required to come to campus. It is an option for you if you want to walk at graduation, that you can come and do that, but not a requirement. The registrar does mail diplomas out. So there's no time when you will be physically required to be somewhere. All of our classes are held in terms of like when due dates are and things like that. And Canvas, those are all going to be listed at Eastern time because that is where we are. But it's very easy to go into Canvas settings and change it to match what your time is. So you see that as your time. So if you're Pacific or Central, wherever you are, it's fairly easy to do that. And I think that would probably be the one point of confusion potentially coming into online classes asynchronously is just having that down. But so that's a pretty easily taken care of through Canvas. But anything you see in terms of office hours, stuff like that, that's listed on our hours as well, those are going to be in Eastern Standard Time.
Other questions? You guys have had great questions so far.
I guess I just would have one final question. I'm sorry, Christina, if I'm always
You're good.
jumping
I
in.
like questions. It's probably one I have as well.
Okay, so when you showed those areas of specialization,
Mhm.
is there a specific area that this program is known for, is really strong on? I mean, is there like a place you really shine in that list?
So youth services and literature is a really big one for us. Our program actually started through our College of Education here to prepare teachers. That is the foundation of our LIS program, and that's been a focus of our program the whole time, is serving those populations. So that is one place where we really shine. The other place is in health information. We're very highly ranked in that area because our current director, that is his area of focus. He's well known in that field. We also have some other faculty who do research in that area. But I would say definitely school, libraries, and youth services and literature is really where we have such wonderful faculty and such a long history of just great coursework in that area.
That's
I wanted to chime in and mention also kind of in the same vein with our concentrations, that we also, because we are a School of Information Science and we do have an undergrad and graduate program also in information communication technology, that any type of IT or technology component, whether that is within classes in public libraries, youth services, school libraries, et cetera, or whether it is an elective specifically related to IT and systems, that wealth of knowledge from our faculty is throughout that curriculum. As Ashley mentioned, it's really important in our field. There was a time, like I remember right before I went into library science, like there was a time like in like that decade before of like library professionals that they were told microfilm was going to be the future. And everything was going to be on microfilm and microfilm readers. Obviously, that didn't happen. They also said that we wouldn't need librarians after we had the internet.
And here we are.
Here we are.
So yes,
I was
to Heather's point.
certainly working in a library after the internet. There's so much of our field that it grows with technology, and technology, it's sort of a synthesis with our field. So just know that is something that our program also has a strength in. We have faculty who have a data science background, and some of our classes even also are in data analysis and visualization. So there is a really strong technology support in that curriculum as well. And we also, I also believe we have a very strong diversity component in our curriculum as well. Those are like two very big components built through the core and the rest of the curriculum in our concentration areas. So you'll get those tenets that you would expect of librarianship, the ALA core values, and then also that really strongly supported technology component throughout.
Christina, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, sorry. So how can I make myself like a competitive applicant for an assistantship?
So one, take the application seriously because it is a Google form. We often have people who don't mind their punctuation or don't answer incomplete sentences or write something like, I just don't want to have to take out student loans. It's not really going to inspire much confidence in you as a graduate assistant. What we would like to see is if you have financial need, share that with us. Actually, I think that's the scholarship application. Shifting focus, assistantship application. You'll be asked specifically, what kinds of areas do you want to work in? What skill sets can you bring with you? And then what skill sets do you want to learn? And so those two questions, what I already know how to do and what I want to learn how to do, those are really important ones.
Okay.
So take a little time, do a little research in the kinds of work that you think you might want to do as a librarian. And if you're not really sure what that might look like, reach out to some of the librarians. Either your public librarian, they're more than happy to tell you what their job entails, or anybody here at UK. So if you're interested in archival work, often we have a GA that works in the archives. Reach out to one of our archivists and say, hey, what is your job like on a day-to-day basis? What do you do? What kind of skill should I expect to gain to do this really well? The more that you show that you've taken more than 5 minutes to fill out that application, the better off you will be. But really, it's about the completeness of your answer, right? So like really think about what the question is asking you and take time, a week or more, to really draft and redraft and edit those responses before you submit the application. What I will tell you is if you submit it and then realize that you've made a mistake, you can submit it again and I will take the most current one. So sometimes we have students do that. Maybe they'll apply in January, but something happens in February and they want to submit a new application. That's fine. I'll just take the one from February. So you're always welcome to update it. I just take the most current one when I pull everything on March 2nd, and that's what gets sent forward to UK libraries. So, and Christina, if as you're filling that out, you find that you have more questions, just shoot me an email. And I'm happy to provide some more guidance. Then let me switch back to the last slide. One more.
And then, like, how many people typically apply for that? Is it super competitive?
It's very much like alternative spring break. It varies year to year. So like last year we had about 12 students apply for 4 positions.
Okay.
In previous years, we've had 25 students apply for 8 positions. So in terms of how many people you're competing with, it depends on the semester.
Right.
And usually, the other thing to remember is funding is not guaranteed for a second year. So if you are
Right.
awarded funding for the first year, you still have to reapply the second year, and you're not guaranteed to be chosen for that second year of funding. Often our GAs do repeat one year to the next, but it is not a guarantee and you do have to reapply.
Okay, thank you.
And then Christina, I will also mention that, like Ashley said, she'll take the most updated form that you send. But after that point, when it's with the library system at UK, whoever would be your assistantship supervisor, that those folks who are making that decision, they're the ones who are going to be going through those and prioritizing them. Sometimes if they have strong candidates, they will call you in for an interview or do a Zoom interview. So just make sure that you're kind of ready for that, for when if that happens. And they do kind of make the final decision at that point. So that is just something to know about assistantships. But in addition, if you are interested in, if you're looking to get a position on campus or work in the library system, regardless of an assistantship, there are job openings on the UK Jobs website. They do have student positions for the libraries. I know that I previously worked in, this is the special collections reading room right here in my Zoom background. I worked here for a while when I was in college. And in their reference room. And there's also, sometimes they hire for folks in the processing area here too. But this is just one of, I think, 13 library and information centers on campus.
There are a lot of them.
So there are multiple opportunities. And then we also see a lot of students do practicums opportunities as well through UK libraries, but I wanted to mention the UK job site as well. So for instance, maybe you might, if for any reason you're not awarded an assistantship or something changes, or you just want to maybe start working in the field while you are at university, those are options as well. And I think that typically I usually get those like right toward the beginning of the semester, usually from folks. They come and they contact Ashley or I. Hi, do you have any students who need a job? We need an assistant in the reading room, or we need this person to work in ILL. So just kind of know that there are opportunities outside of assistantships as well, that are like legitimate like job opportunities on campus as well. And those are pretty strongly advertised to our program students.
And I see we're coming up on noon and we want to be respectful of your time, but we are here to answer other questions if you have them. But if not, thank you very much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. We're always glad to have an opportunity to talk with prospective students, and for you guys to spend a little bit of your day with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
Be
lot.
in touch.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I am Sarah Jane. I am the admissions coordinator and student affairs officer for the ICT master's program. Basically, I'm the point of contact if you have any questions up until students are admitted into the program and they get a faculty advisor and all of that. And I will share. Go ahead and share my PowerPoint. And it's a brief overview of the program. It usually takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to go through. And then if you have any questions at the end, feel free to let me know. And if you don't see the PowerPoint right now, also please let me know. It should be sharing.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, great. And I also will email you a PDF version of this and likely the recording as well. So you will have the information that I'm about to go over. So we are in the School of Information Science, which is in the College of Communication and Information at UK. We have the bachelor's in ICT, master's in ICT, and then we also have a master's in library science. Quick points, it is a fully online master's program. All of the courses are asynchronous. So, there's never, oh, you need to be online at 8 p.m. every Tuesday or anything like that. It is, work at your own time for all of our courses. 36 credit hours to complete the degree. That comes out to 12 courses, 5 core courses and 7 electives. And we do allow students to complete the program part-time or full-time, and we consider full-time to be 3 courses per semester, and part-time could be 1 or 2 courses. And then 140 hours of practicum experience. I'm going to expand on that in a future slide. So these are the 3 concentration tracks. These are the areas our electives will fall under, so students can mix and match electives in the various tracks for whatever their interests are, what benefits them or their career. So you don't have to come into the program and say, I'm going to do health and only take health electives. But the health track, students searching for leadership positions in the health-related environment, health IT, policy and regulation, students interested in current issues and the obstacles of the widespread use of ICTs, and then tech and analytics, students that are interested in designing information systems, you know, the information architecture, web design, things like that. And then we also have started a few semesters ago, we partnered with the ISC department on campus, which, if you're not familiar, is kind of the applied marketing degree. It's integrated strategic communications. So we've developed a few electives with them as well, like a social media strategies course, social media analytics, things like that. This is a quick faculty spotlight. Dr. Huber, he is actually the director of the School of Information Science, and he teaches 2 of our regularly offered health electives. His research interests are health literacy, HIV, AIDS information and communication, and health information outreach in general. We have Dr. Zadali. His interests are cybersecurity, privacy, and energy efficient networking. And then Dr. Burns, he is actually also a professor for our library science master's program. And so his main research interests are library and information science, history, and ethics. Admissions requirements. So we don't require the GRE. We do require a bachelor's degree with a GPA of 3.0 or higher. If it is under that, you can contact me regarding that. We do allow applicants to submit a separate statement that, you know, goes more into detail about maybe any circumstances that led to a lower GPA. A personal statement. We just ask that that be 200 to 300 words, why you're seeking admission to the ICT master's program, why you're interested in a career as an ICT professional. 3 letters of recommendation. You know, those need to be professional. You know, professors or supervisors are great, but really anyone that can attest to your work ethic and why you would succeed in a graduate program. And then your CV or resume. And then I have this information on transcripts here, just because we don't require official copies when you apply. So our department is fine with unofficial copies, but the graduate school will want official copies of your transcripts at some point. If you went to UK, don't worry about this if you were undergrad at UK. If not, there is the address to send official copies to the graduate school, as well as the email if your institutions will send it electronically. Okay, course requirements. Oops. We have 5 core courses that you can see here. The ICT 661 and 662 is kind of an either or. So either one of those will count as a core course. Some students do take both, but the second will just count as an elective. And then the practicum, I will say that there is the opportunity to get that waived if you work full-time in an ICT related environment. So the current waiver for that is sending your resume to our school's assistant director. But we've also had some students start using their current jobs as their practicum site if there's the opportunity to do so. So there's a few options there. If that practicum does get waived, students take an additional elective to make up for the 3 credit hours. The elective courses, these aren't an exhaustive list, but these are some of our more regularly offered electives. Our courses are still on a rotating basis. So, you know, some programs can give you a course plan sheet saying this is what you should take your first semester, second semester, so on. Our courses are not offered on a consistent basis yet. Some of them are, some of the core courses. but it's more so get the core courses, the first 4, the practicum can be taken, usually is taken during the graduating semester. But as long as you can get those core courses completed within the first 18 or so credit hours, just so there's no situation where you're ready to graduate and you need to still take ICT 600 and it's not being offered. Other than getting those kind of out of the way, there are new special topics courses offered every semester. So this, again, this is not exhaustive. And then the exit requirement. So that is a requirement in addition to your coursework in the final semester. And it is a written paper and a visual presentation that students work with their faculty advisors on. If students are doing the practicum at the same time or an independent study, that research can be extended when it comes to the exit requirement. Tuition and deadlines. So since we are a fully online program, the tuition rates are different for the only online courses. So that would be the rates to look at here. Full-time at $6,291 per semester, part-time 750 cents per credit hour. If you live in Lexington and you would like to, there are a couple 500 level courses that are offered for undergraduates and graduates that are offered on campus. So there would be that option to take a course or 2 on campus, but then your tuition rate would change. And then deadlines to apply for spring, it is November 15th, and for fall, it is July 1st. Funding, so the top link here takes you to UK's Financial Aid Office website. Every student has a financial aid counselor. You can find who that is on their website. UK Graduate School, so that will show you all of the fellowships offered from the graduate school. You know, students can apply for any that they are eligible for, but you would be competing against all students at UK who are applying for those. So our school does have assistantships. I will say they're heavily library science focused, but ICT students are welcome to apply for those. This next link, the external scholarships, will actually take you to our school's funding page, which will have the information for our school's assistantships, as well as some links to various databases and search engines that can help you find grants and scholarships. Since the program is still fairly new, we unfortunately don't have any internal scholarships yet for the program. UK employees, if you work at UK, that will take you to the EEP website, which you are likely familiar with that tuition assistance program, and that link should have the form that you send into them. And then UK jobs, if you are just wanting to look for job openings at UK, that will take you to the current openings. Okay, I think I went through, I think I made all of my